Welcome to Over and Out with Dawn News. I'm Sadi Raza here in Dallas, Texas. With me is Ahmed Khwaja in the United Arab Emirates, and we are going to review June 3rd of the T20 World Cup being held in the US and the Caribbean. So, two matches. One was a little anticlimactic, one was an amazing super over. Let's go with the anticlimactic one first. So, Sri Lanka and South Africa in the first official match at the Nassau County Stadium. This is the modular stadium they put together in Hicksville, Long Island, a suburb of New York City, where on June 9th, India will be playing Pakistan. So we saw, and we discussed this in our previous recording, that we saw in the India-Bangladesh warm-up match, that the pitch was a little spongy, a little too paced, the outfield was slow, and we thought things would get better, but it seems like this pitch is going to be a little tricky. Before we get to the match, your thoughts on the pitch and the stadium and the outfield?
Well, you're spot on, Dr. Saab. Once again, the pitch was very spicy. It felt more like a Johannesburg or Cape Town sort of wicket here. A lot of seam movement, a lot of trampoline-like bounce from a good length. And what was mystifying was Wanindu Hasaranga winning the toss and electing to bat first. It backfired majorly on the Sri Lankans, as the scorecard is telling you. There was a lot of seam movement. It was a tailor-made wicket for the taller, quicker, faster South African bowlers, and they feasted on it. Osneil Bartman on his World Cup debut on the very first ball of a spell picked up a wicket there, and then Anrich Nokia did what he always does. Kariso Rabada chipped in as well. So all of the South African speedsters made merry on a very green sporting wicket, and Sri Lanka basically shot themselves in the foot right from the very first ball, right from the toss, in fact, when they elected to bat first.
I was surprised by their choice because they're in not an easy group, and net run rate comes into account. And I don't know why they elected to bat first because the way they lost, their net run rate, it's going to take some taking to now overcome that. They may be eliminated from the tournament. The one other thing is, although the South Africans bowled well, the power play scores in both innings were sort of in the 20s. I think Sri Lanka scored 27 off the power play. South Africa made 24. It's not like South Africa was going slow because the target wasn't big. I think this is just a difficult pitch, and coming to the Pakistan India game, this might be a reason why you see a Rizwan Babar in opening on Sunday, June 9th.
Well, I think we were going to see that anyway with the way Saim Ayub has been progressing at the international level, a lot of low scores. And well, the pressure is on. They certainly have some tough decisions to make on that day, on the 9th, but you're absolutely spot on. I think Angelo Matthews and Nuwan Tushara bowled really well for Sri Lanka with the new ball. It was their kind of wicket. It was a seamer's wicket. Perhaps if you had that extra pace, you could be a lot more deadly. But we know Angelo Matthews about 80 miles per hour, just keeping it around that off stump. And Nuwan Tushara bowled quite well as well. Got Reza Hendricks nicking off to slip early, and that put a lot of pressure on Quinton de Kock. And in combination with Dasun Shanaka, Angelo Matthews bowled really well. Mantisha Patirana was outstanding. He was regularly clocking 150 plus. In fact, in a three-ball sequence, he went past 94 miles per hour, three balls in a row, and he was causing a lot of problems for Quentin de Kock and Tristan Stubbs, who applied himself well. But the pitch remained spicy throughout the day, and I don't understand what kind of wicket you would want to bat on first here. And Sri Lanka, like you mentioned, they put themselves on the back foot big time with this big loss. The game against Bangladesh is tricky. The game against Netherlands is tricky as well, and Nepal is a bit of a wild card as well. So Sri Lanka have it all to do in the T20 World Cup right now.
One other comment on South Africa. When you look at their batting lineup with de Kock, Reza Hendricks, Klaassen, that's some lineup. If they get hot, they could be a tough out in the Caribbean.
Well, that's the problem, Sadi Bhai, that they never seem to be able to put it together. The personnel is brilliant, right? From 1 to 11, they have quality, they have the strength, they have the intent in the batting lineup, they've got the technique as well, they've got the game. But it's just right up here. They just can't solve that riddle, how to get over the hump, that mental blockage they have in these ICC tournaments. They will once again be hot favorites to make it at least to the semi-finals. But when the pressure is on, we know what South Africa usually do in these crunch encounters.
One last comment on June 9th before we move over to the Namibia Oman game, which is, I think, Imad is definitely now, his name was, if it was written in pencil before, it'll definitely be written in pen. The only other question is, does Abrar come in now for somebody, given the wicket?
Well, that's a very good question to ask because Shadab's form has been very, very questionable. Azam Khan is facing a lot of social media ire recently for his poor batting and wicket keeping combined. If it was one or the other, perhaps he could have sufficed, but he's been not been clicking with the bat at all, and his wicket keeping was very poor in the England series as well. It can be tricky in the early summer in the UK to keep wickets because we have that ball swinging away, even if after it crosses the cut strip of the 22 yards, but well, he's not winning himself any friends, especially with removing all his Instagram posts as well. So I think Pakistan there may be a strong inclination just to get rid of Azam Khan, promote Shadab Khan in the batting order, and get Abrar slotted in there as well. And Saim Ayub, well, it's anybody's guess. It's a coin toss at the moment. I think they'll back him at least for the USA game that Pakistan play earlier to that. Let's see if Saim Ayub clicks in that game, and let's hope for the best on the ninth as well.
Of course, Pakistan's first game is just up the road here in Dallas against the US on Thursday. So, Oman, Namibia, a super over. It looked like Namibia was down and out, but they sort of rescued the game. And your boy, David Wiese, to the rescue, the Lahore Qalandars player. Talk us through that game briefly.
Well, it was just a disastrous start for Oman. They lost their first three wickets in a flash. They lost their two main batters, Prajapati and Akib Ilyas, on consecutive deliveries. Ruben Trumpelman doing his imitation of Shaheen Shah Afridi with those full in-swing Yorkers into the right-handers pads. Fabulous bowling. And after that, Oman were never really in it in terms of the batting. But the bowling, like you mentioned, fought really hard, even though Freiling played a decent knock, got 40 odd runs to his name, the left handed bowling all rounder. Gerald Erasmus was decent as well, the skipper of Namibia. Until he was there at the crease, it looked like it was smooth sailing. But when Gerard Erasmus got out, then they got a bit of the shaky legs there for Namibia. Of course, they're not very experienced at this level as well. And shockingly, it came down right down to the final ball. Two needed of one. The Oman wicketkeeper fumbled the ball and missed his directed, and that allowed for the super over where David Wiese does what David Wiese always does, dominating, getting that big six that put Oman on the back foot, and then the 20 odd runs was just too much for Oman to chase down in their six deliveries.
Thank you very much. We'll do it again tomorrow.